how are you? Students, in our previous lecture, we have read about crop variety improvement, and now in today's lecture we'll learn about crop production management, how it is done. Under this, we'll learn about the use of nutrients to your plants. Then we'll learn about manure, fertilizers, and how organic farming is done. So students, today we have a topic, crop production management, and it is a subtopic of lesson improvement in food resources from class 9, and subject is science. So students, we all know that India is an agricultural based country, and we have many farmers, and what we eat, what vegetables, what fruits that we eat, even what flowers we get for decoration, the credit of production of all these goes to a farmer. Now, all the farmers which are in India, all the farmers are not rich. They are poor farmers also. Farmers are of middle category also, and some farmers are rich also. So it is totally dependent on the farmer's income from agriculture, how much input the farmer gives to the agricultural field. Obviously, if a farmer is a small farmer, or if the income of farmer is less, then he will have a less agricultural land. And now, so if a farmer has enough money, or the amount of money which a farmer has, or the financial condition of a farmer decides the cropping system and production practices which are followed in our country. Students, let us see how it happens. Actually, if a farmer has enough money, for example, if a farmer don't have any money and is a poor farmer, then whatever seeds he has in his home that he has collected from the previous harvesting, he will use the same seed, and he will use the traditional methods of irrigation, and he will use manure, and he will produce all the crop. So this type of crop production, which utilizes no scientific methods and techniques, that type of farming practices come under no cost production. And you all know that higher is the input in the field, more will be the production, because higher input in terms of agricultural practice, in terms of higher inputs of manure and fertilizers, then the chemicals and herbicides that we use to protect a field, then the agricultural tools that we use. See, if we use all the new methods of agriculture, means we are providing a higher input to the field, and as a result, the production of crop will be at a higher rate. Now, it is dependent on the farmer's money and the financial condition, which type of cropping pattern is followed in the country. So now cropping system and production practices in India is basically of three types. The first one is of low cost, means the farmer has no money to buy new variety of seed, and he uses the traditional method of irrigation, and he produces the crop. So this type of cropping system or crop production will be of no cost, means there is no utilization of extra money by the farmer. The next one is low cost, means the farmer belongs to a middle category, and the farmer manages to buy certain amounts of seeds, and sometimes he also uses the modern methods of irrigation and to produce the crop. So this type of crop production will be low cost. And the third type of crop production will be a high cost, means the farmer uses a high yielding variety of seeds that you have learned, and then he uses the modern methods of irrigation, then he uses fertilizers, and he also uses weedicides, herbicides and pesticides to protect the crop. So if a farmer puts a higher input, if he has enough money to purchase all these or to manage all these new agricultural practices, practices, then ultimately the yield of the crop will be high. So this type of crop production will be known as high cost cropping system or high cost cropping pattern. So we have basically three types of production practices: low cost, low cost and high cost. Now students, have you ever wondered why nutrients are required for the plants? I know that you have a variety of answers for this. Nutrient is required similarly by a plant as all the animals and human beings need. So nutrients have specific role in the plant's body and they are required for normal growth and development, for fruiting, for flowering, for fruiting and a normal growth and development of the plant. But all the nutrients which are required by the plant are not taken by the plant directly from the soil. Some of the nutrients may be supplied from air, some nutrients may be supplied from water, and there are many such nutrients which are supplied by the soil also. So we'll see what are the nutrients which are basically used by the plant and what is the source of that nutrient, from where the plant gets it. Okay, so if you look to the sources from where a plant gets a nutrient, then we have air, water and soil. So from air, the plant gets O2 by means of respiration, and the plant gets CO2 by means of photosynthesis. So the plant is getting oxygen and carbon from air. Then we have water. So the roots of the plant, they are in the soil, and the roots absorb water from the soil. So from water the plant gets hydrogen and oxygen as the element or the nutrient. And if we leave oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, then and oxygen, then we are left with many nutrients which are supplied by soil also. But all the nutrients which are supplied by soil, but the plant takes few, but there are certain nutrients which are required in lesser quantity for the plant, and there are certain other nutrients which are required by the plant in more quantity. The nutrients which are required by the plant in lesser quantity are known as micronutrients, and the nutrients which are required by the plant in higher quantity are known as macro. Macro means more, micro means less. So we'll see the macronutrient. To memorize it, first you should be aware of NPK. There are special fertilizers also which are rich in nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. And then we are left with three more nutrients. One is calcium, magnesium and sulfur. So 6 nutrients are the nutrients which are required by the plant as macronutrients. And these are the nutrients: carbon, oxygen, carbon, hydrogen. These are also required by the plant. Then we have certain more nutrients which are required by the plant in lesser quantity. So we'll see what are these nutrients. These are known as micronutrients. For example, iron, zinc, manganese, copper, boron, molybdenum and chlorine. So these are also the nutrients which are required by the plant, and obviously all the plant needs the nutrients which I have mentioned here. So some of the nutrients are required by larger quantity and some other nutrients are required by the plant in higher quantity. Okay students, now what will happen if a plant don't get these nutrients? So if a plant don't get these nutrients, then ultimately the plant will have certain deficiency symptoms in the body, and due to the deficiency the plant may affected, its physiological processes may be affected, because of which its reproduction means it will not be able to produce flower and fruits. Then its growth will be stopped, means the plant will remain dwarf, or the growth will be stunted, or it will be for a limited period of time. And then susceptibility to diseases, it means that the plant will take the diseases very frequently. Means the plant will not be disease resistant. Student, in this topic we will also learn about nutrient, because this is related to will study about manure, because manure is related to nutrient. How manure is related to nutrient? Let us see. See student, manure is an organic substance which is prepared by decomposition of animal and plant residues by the use of microbes. So it is basically a organic substance and it has certain nutrients which are required by the plant. Under manure we will read the topics like how to make compost, then how to make vermicompost, and how to make green manure. So these are the subtopics of manure. Students will see how manure can be made. So students, we have learned what is manure. Now it depends on the process of manure, how it is made, and accordingly we classify manure either into a compost or into a green manure. So let us see how compost and green manure are made. So if you want to make a compost, then you have to dig a big pit in the soil, and the substances that we have to add in the pit are like livestock excreta, means the waste of the domesticated animals, then vegetable waste like peeling or the vegetables which are rotting or the vegetables which are of no use, we are simply throwing them, that vegetables we can add here, then animal refuse, means the waste of the animals, then domestic waste, the waste produced in our home which are biodegradable, and the sewage waste, straw are the pieces of the branches or the stem of the crop or any plant, and eradicated weeds, means the unwanted plant that grow along with the crop. If we have taken out, the farmer has taken the weeds from the crop, then that weed, because they are plant residues, so they can be also added in the pit. Now what you have to do, you have to close, after adding these things, these items or these substances in the pit, you have to add certain amount of water, and if possible we can cover it with a very big leaf or many dry leaves and cover, then we have to cover on the topmost layer we have to sprinkle some amount of soil, and if we leave this pit undisturbed for 1 or 1.5 months, then after 1 or 1.5 months we will see a black substance, we will get a black substance out of the pit, and if we dig it, we will get a black or brown substance out of it. So this black or brown substance that we get by this method is known as compost, and the method of preparing a compost is known as composting. So students, manure can be prepared by composting, and the manure obtained by the process of composting is known as compost. Now students, suppose if we want to improve the quality of manure produced, or if we want to increase the speed of manure production, what the farmers do? Farmers, they take the help of earthworm and they add earthworm in the same pit. So, and the process is known as vermicomposting, and the manure obtained by vermicomposting is known as vermicompost. So what we have, the pit will be same, just we have to add earthworms in it. What happens? For earthworm, the organic matter or waste is its food. So it takes the waste inside its body and takes out manure which is rich in nutrient from its body. And by doing this, the earthworm also, when the earthworm moves in the soil, it also makes the passage of air so that air can easily reach to the soil particles, and the process of decomposition occurs at a faster rate. So students, we have learned that manure can be made by composting, and the manure will be known as compost, or if the manure can be vermicompost if we use earthworm in it, earthworm by using using earthworm, we can increase the speed of production of manure. Students, the second type of manure which can be made in the field is green manure. And why it is known as green manure? Because you will know why it is known as green manure. Because it is made from the green plants. Like we have example, two plants, sun, hemp and guar. These are very fast growing crops. And what just before the sowing of the crop seed, means if the field is ready to so the seeds can be sown, just few days before the sowing of seeds, the whole field if suppose the season for growing of the seed is March, then in the 1.5 months before, we'll start growing certain plants like sun, hemp and guar, because they grow at a faster rate. Or even we can take prior to sowing, we can take 2 weeks early. Means 2 weeks before we want to sow the seeds, the crops like sun, hemp and guar can be grown, because they grow at a faster rate. So when they start growing and when they grow up to a certain height, what is done? The farmer uses a plow and the farmer plows the entire field. So what happens because of that? The plants like sun, hemp and guar, they fall down on the soil and they get mixed up with the soil. These plants are left over the soil for many days so that the decomposition process goes on, and this type of manure, which is formed by the organic matter, will be, or by the plants of sun, hemp and guar, is known as green manure. So students, we have seen how manure is made. Now we'll learn what are the advantages of using manure. Since it is rich in organic matter, it has many types of nutrients in it, so it enriches the soil with nutrients and organic matter, and this obviously increases the fertility of the soil. The second is that by adding organic matter in the soil, it increases the bulk of the soil, and this improves the soil structure. We'll see how it improves the soil structure. See students, if it is a sandy soil, then the water holding capacity of the sandy soil can be improved by the use of manure. The sandy soil will retain more amount of water if we add manure to a sandy soil. And if it is a clay soil, then what happens? In clay soil, by adding manure, it helps in drainage and avoid water logging. See students, if we add more amount of water in the clay soil, the plants may rot, but if you add manure to clay soil, then the water retention capacity of the clay soil will improve, and what will happen? There will be enough gap between the soil particles, and water will not destroy the roots of the plants which are in the clay soil. So students, today we have what we have just we'll have a recap what we have learned. Students, we have learned what are macro and micronutrients. Then we have learned why manure is required by the crops, or how the use of manure is advantageous to us. And then we have learned the two types of manure. One is compost and the another one is green manure. So that's all for the day, students. We'll continue this lesson in our next lecture. Thank you, students.